What's up, guys? It's time to do all the spoilers for Ty West's new movie X, just because there was so much going on in this movie. And it's one of those movies I didn't want to tell you guys that much in the spoiler-free review. So now I get to stretch my legs and we can discuss all the spoilers for X. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to all the spoilers. These are reviews where I just get to kind of, I guess, let my hair down a little bit and not go so professional when it comes to discussing a movie. And X, let me tell you, from the first second I saw this trailer, the two things that jumped out at me were A24 and Ty West. And I was just like, there's no way we can lose with this. There's just no way we can lose. Just after seeing House of the Devil, just so you guys know, I think I've only seen House of the Devil. That's the only other Ty West movie I've ever seen. But even from the first movie, I could tell that there was something special about that film. And this was a director that had a certain eye, kind of comparing him to like David Robert Mitchell, who did It Follows. I saw his other movie that he did, something Among the Silver Lake or something like that. I was not impressed with that one at all. That's just another example of a director, like right out the gate, having a specific vision. Fortunately, in Ty West's case, he just keeps pumping out interesting movies because he's done quite a few more movies. And I've heard that The Innkeepers is also really well done. But I just love his vision. I love his patience behind the camera. I love that he makes his movies his own. He doesn't follow trends. He doesn't try to do agendas. Like, this movie just felt like a good old bona fide, well shot slasher. It didn't feel like it was trying to fit into today's, I guess, check boxes, today's agenda driven movies, because there's so many of them these days. This wasn't that at all, and it was refreshing. It was just so damn refreshing. But I guess the big thing that I wanted to discuss in the spoiler review was the old couple. I think the lady's name is Pearl. Correct me if I'm wrong, because one of you guys on Twitter clued me in that this is actually on YouTube now, because there was an after credits scene, and I got up right when the credits started rolling. I didn't know that there was an after credits scene, but not only a scene, but just a trailer for a prequel. And from the clip that I saw that was on YouTube, it looks like a movie that is, it could be fully shot. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you guys know. But, this could be one of those things like they did with, like, Thanksgiving, where Eli Roth just shot footage for a trailer and put it together. It could be the same type deal. I don't know. You guys probably know more than me. But, man, I hope the prequel comes about, set in like 1918, and it goes into the story of the old couple when they were young. Could be really interesting. Could go a very different direction too, because I don't know if that would necessarily be a slasher movie, even though from that trailer, if you haven't seen it, spoiler within a spoiler review, I guess, but the alligator comes into play in that movie too. And by the way, that freaking alligator, I knew that freaking alligator would come into play. You had that great scene where Maxine, she, early in the day, she's out swimming, and you see the alligator coming behind her, and he doesn't seem like he's closing in that fast, so it looks like she could easily get out of the water, but she doesn't know he's behind her. So once she gets up to the dock, she just kind of sits there and rests for a bit, and then the alligator kind of comes out of frame, directly behind her, and you can just feel the tension building in the audience. And she gets up right at the last second. But I was like, I guarantee you that sucker's gonna come into play later. Sure enough, it did. When Brittany Snow's character, Bobby Lynn, she confronts the old lady, and the freaking alligator comes behind and just freaking lops her head right off. So I guess there's so many different facets of just horror in general in this movie. There's your little creature feature portion, just the alligator. But then you have that psychotic horror with just the old couple, because they're not your tried and true slasher killer type format. They're not that at all. They're the type of villain that you would definitely let your guard down, because just visually looking at them, you don't see them as a threat at all, because they're so old. So they can use that to their advantage. So every time you're watching this movie and you're thinking there's no way they'd get out of that situation, maybe they would, because they let their guard down. The old couple seemed like they always had a leg up on everything that was going on. So Ty West was very smart about this script, playing around with these characters and their vulnerabilities. It worked very well. Now, if this movie becomes like a huge hit, I mean, the word of mouth right now, I'm seeing online, everybody's just going over the moon for this movie. Deservedly so. It's so damn good. But Mia Goth and Jenna Ortega, we'll get to her in a second, but Mia Goth, man, her career could really just shoot for the stratosphere just because how great she was. I seen like so many people, copying her makeup, really just kind of glorifying her. And, this is a character that is so easy to love and to look up to because right at the beginning of the movie, like I said in the non-spoiler reviews, she snorts a line of coke, but she basically has like this mission statement that I will not be controlled. I will take control of my own destiny and I will, become a star. And you could apply that to your own life. I can do anything, and right now I'm nothing, but there's nothing stopping me from rising above and becoming my own successful person. And that's what she wants to do. And man, that's just one of the most universal themes ever created. And it goes all the way back to when movies first started. There's always those characters that are just so inspirational. Even like, I can tie this to like Rocky from 1976. And that was one of my first movie memories that made me feel like I could be special and I could do anything and nobody could hold me back, because Rocky, he was this washed up fighter who was, in his early 30s at the time when he finally gets a shot. So it's never too late. But that's what Maxine is in this. She is that hope that we all, strive for, that twinkle in the eye, even though she's a freaking porn star. People can latch on to anything, any profession, doesn't matter, and it could be so freaking taboo and controversial, but whatever works, right? But I mean, I love that coming round full circle in the end, and she ends up being the preacher's daughter. And that was just a perfect way to close out the story, because throughout you got this preacher on this TV, and he's constantly preaching condemnation and judgment of everyone. And that's something that I've actually seen quite a bit in my life. I've been to churches where you have preachers that have this holier than thou complex, and they think that they can do no wrong. And ironically, they're the most judgmental people on the planet. And so I think that's one reason why we tend to go the other route and relate more to characters that are not perfect and put everything right there on the table. Not putting down Christians. I grew up in a Christian family myself. Not putting down those people at all, but I'm just saying we're all the same. We all have the same flesh and blood, and nobody's better than anybody. We all have our beliefs. We all have our insecurities, and we're just people. But I was also curious, because the first half of this movie is this crew going to shoot a porno film, and I'm like, I wonder how far they're going to go with that. And they do actually show a lot. It doesn't take over the whole movie. This isn't Showgirls, okay? But Ty West knew what type of story this needed to be. And also, let's not sugarcoat this. Let's show tastefully what this world is about. And we spend a good portion of the first half doing that. And that might make some people uncomfortable. I don't care what you're trying to portray on a screen, as long as you're just being honest and truthful about whatever it is you're trying to present. And I think that's why, going back to Boogie Nights from the 90s, that movie really struck a chord, because it started off like light and playful and almost poking fun at the whole adult film industry. But then that movie in the second half gets extremely dark, very honest. And that's kind of what this did in the first half. It didn't sugarcoat anything. It showed what the world was about. It showed how insecure these people were. And really, at the end of the day, they just wanted to make their own mark in the world. Now, how the horror elements really kick into high gear is when you have this character, RJ, and I swear to God, I thought he was the guy that was in Evil Dead, the Evil Dead remake, the guy that was responsible for letting loose the Deadites and the whole thing. Well, ironically, this guy right here, who's not that guy, he just actually looks like he could be his brother, was responsible for starting the whole thing. Because, and I know I'm all over the place, but Jenna Ortega, she played this character that was just so insecure and afraid to come out of her shell. And then when she sees this porn world unveiling in front of her. The big thing that really makes her come to life, I guess, is when she sees Maxine. Maxine, up to a point, you know, she's really wanting to make her mark, and boy, does she when she actually gets to shoot her first scene. You know, there's electricity in the air. And so when Lorraine sees that, she blossoms, and she's like, man, I want to feel that. I want to know what that's like. And then her boyfriend, RJ, gets extremely jealous, and so he just can't take it anymore. He leaves, and then the Pearl, the old lady, is right there in front of the truck. He lets his guard down, you know, thinking she's in trouble, or she could have dementia, whatever, and she makes a pass at him. And that's pretty much what the core of this movie is about with this old couple. We'll get to that in a sec, but she makes a pass at him, and he rejects her, like, what are you doing? And she stabs him, like, in the neck, and it's brutal and it's violent. And this is where the horror really kicks into high gear, because up to this point, there really was none of that, you know? So you didn't know how violent this movie was gonna be. But as soon as that scene came along, I was like, holy crap, this was insane. She was going apeshit on him. And from that point on, it became a slasher movie, and all the characters were kind of sitting ducks. And in terms of the violence, I just love how Ty West was just so versatile with how he handled all these deaths. It wasn't the same thing every time. And he got really creative, like with the alligator kill, and with the character looking through the hole in the wall. She stabs him with the pitchfork. You know, every kill was very unpredictable. You didn't know where they were gonna go. And as a slasher fan, it was really freaking satisfying. This was a slasher movie that was taken a bit more seriously and had some human elements to it that I think were quite relatable, especially to those of us that are getting older and we see the end coming. You know, maybe a decade down the road, maybe a couple decades. Who knows how much longer we have to live? And I think once you get to a certain age, trust me on this, guys, you start thinking about this stuff. And I think that's one reason why this movie resonated with me so much, because you had these two characters that they were pretty much at the end of their life. And, you know, they had their whole life behind them, and Pearl just wanted to be desired again and to see what it felt like, you know, to, I guess, be like she was when she was young. And I'm sure they'll explore more of that in the prequel if they ever do it. Or it might be done, I don't know. It was kind of heartwarming and touching to see that exchange between her and her husband, because her husband, at first, he's like, I can't do this anymore, you know, I'm too old. And then later, they eventually, in a really sick, demented way, because this is like right in the center of a bloody slasher movie, they finally like reconnect. It's like reconnecting one last time. And while they're reconnecting, this is Maxine's chance to get out of there. Because Pearl, you know, she was trying to like get it on with Maxine in a bit. But really, this is where Maxine really shined. I mean, she shined throughout the whole movie, but as far as like getting out of the situation, you know, she went out guns blazing pretty much. And my God, that scene where Pearl is like, she shoots Lorraine and her whole body, you know, the buckshot, just throws her right out the door. A lot of times movies don't pay attention to that stuff. They think any character that weighs 100 pounds could pick up a 12 gauge shotgun and pull the trigger and nothing would happen. And this movie showed exactly what would happen. I have shot a freaking 50 cal before. Let me tell you right now, loudest freaking weapon on the planet, it will definitely knock your ass out. And it was just so funny to see Pearl just fly back like that. But yeah, guys, that's all the spoilers for X. This was so good. This is definitely my top movie of the year now. It's hard for me to pick which is better, this or Batman, because they're two completely different types of films. I even had a couple people message me saying, does this beat Batman for you? And it's like apples and oranges. How do you compare the two? Batman might be, you know, up back to #1 next week. Who knows? The two are just so damn close. But X, you know, this was a case where the first time out the gate, this movie just blew my socks off. I loved it to death. Can't wait to see it again. So guys, let me know what your favorite part of X was in the comments. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. It's Drumdum out.